Hello and welcome to this week's look at Beyond Indicators. So before I begin, I'm just going to quickly have a look at the disclaimer, and please feel free to read along as well. Beyond Trader LLC is strictly a research publishing firm. The information we publish is based on our opinions, plus our quantitative models, statistical and financial data, and independent research. This service is not registered with any financial regulatory agency such as the SEC or any other organization or governmental body. By using our platform or our services, you acknowledge that we do not provide personalized recommendation or advice. Alternative asset classes are volatile investments and carry significant risk. Please do your own research before making any financial decisions. Okay, so let's get straight to it and get to the Beyond platform. And I guess what a week it's been for the cryptocurrency market. And I don't quite know where to start, but I think a good place would probably be Beyond Atlas. So as you know, this is our flagship quant model. And if you get to know it and how it behaves, I think it's something special, and it can really give you a key insight into exactly the direction of the market that you want to be trading at. As we know, it's an inverted indicator. So if Atlas is heading higher, then things are bearish. And if it's headed down, especially into the green zone, then things are bullish. So this week, we've had the highest ever daily points increase in Beyond Atlas. It rose by 70 points on Thursday. For the lack of a better word, that's pretty insane. And that kind of lets us know about the general direction of trade. And obviously, things were going to be pretty bad in the aftermath of that. So we're currently pulling back from the 70,000 level. And as you can see, Beyond Atlas is still pointing up. So I guess you're wondering, what is the alpha here in terms of the next move? Well, it's pretty simple. The line of least resistance is still to the downside because Beyond Atlas is pointing up. And there's another key point here. We have some divergence because we can see a divergence in price, i.e. yesterday we saw a recovery, but Atlas was still going strong. And it's notable that it was an extremely large one-day recovery, but Atlas is obviously pointing up and it's moving into the red zone. So the red zone, especially the darker red color, is where we see Atlas starting to become more, oversold. So typically, the extremes come into around the 103 level. We're currently trading at 10185. But remember, these moves are happening lightning fast. Basically, at the start of the week, we weren't a million miles away from the 100 zone, and we've jumped by almost 150 plus points since then. So we can't discount anything, and this move is happening so fast that we need to be aware of it. But currently the alpha built inside Atlas is telling us that the line of least resistance is still to the downside. And if we want to kind of expand on that another step further, I think it's good to probably have a little bit of a zoomed out version of the best opportunities and maybe a comparison towards the previous cycle. So in the previous cycle, and something that tends to happen with Atlas, and even going back as far back as the 2018, 2019 period, we tend to see Atlas peaking at around the 103 level. And after it has peaked, we then get a final lower low in place. And exactly the same thing happened in the previous bear market, where we saw a record high reading, then the price turns down, then we get a final lower low. So based on where we're currently trading with Atlas, I don't think Bitcoin has put a bottom in yet, and we need to probably get deeper inside to the red zone. And that tells me that this recent move higher, unless we start to look rock solid, maybe above around 75,000, then really there is still a strong trend going on here. So Atlas is still telling us to be extremely careful out there, and depending on your style of trading, selling into rallies is probably still the way to go. Having a look at Vanguard, and obviously we've spoke a little bit about Vanguard 3.0 being our new optimized model, and there's a key thing that's happening here, and that is that Vanguard has turned blue, but across no time frame yet. Remember, 3.0 that we have on TradingView is tracking real-time closes, and I can tell you as of now there's no green. So green is your trigger to go long, and if you're rather aggressive, then you might go long on the blues Vanguard. But that's telling us that this trend is unlikely to stick, because if we see green emerging, then the trend is likely to continue. But across no time frame have we seen green yet, and obviously what the 3-day and the weekly is doing. I guess having a look at a bit of a hypothesis of mine, and that is to check out what retail traders are doing. So we know that after being long for a while, they started to go short yesterday, and they did obviously get trapped. If we look at the 1 hour time frame, we can see, that they got caught badly yesterday as they started to short the market, and obviously Bitcoin, 65 to 71,000 plus. Now we can see it slightly starting to turn, and they're starting to try to buy again. And obviously what's happened this morning, prices collapsed from 71 down to 68,000. So I'm watching what they are doing carefully. And that's one of the beauties of the long to short ratio. So I'd probably expect that some traders would come in and try to buy from here, and maybe the trend starts to continue downward next week as they start to buy into this move, thinking it's already over. Another key point that I'd like to make is that Beyond Challenger yesterday gave out perfected buy signals for Bitcoin. And the perfected buy signals worked out extremely well. However, that metric has now been reset on Beyond Challenger, and the bulk of the buy signal may be potentially over now. And obviously the daily just resets itself after it reaches 100, a perfected buy signal, and we had a perfected buy signal across 3 time frames, which was why the up move was so strong. But the key buy signal that we need to watch out for, and it normally happens at the end of a downtrend, is the weekly, and that's showing me that we're still about 6 or 7 weeks away, which is a little bit scary, and it kind of moves into our Q2 theory that things could probably get a little bit better during or towards that period. And I guess finally, the pivot points. We've got a great section on pivot points, which is something that I personally wanted to add, because I think the yearly pivot point adds a lot of weight towards exactly what the market could do during an entire yearly period, as difficult as that is to forecast. But something interesting happened this week. So obviously we got rejected from the yearly pivot point, and we moved towards the S1 or slightly under. So for me, I guess the inference here is that we go towards S2, but I'm not quite sure about that. I think we've got probably a date with destiny around the 55,000 level first, but we've definitely hit the S1 target. So anywhere between S1 and S2 would be a good area next. And obviously, if you're looking for a trade setup and you're a long-term trader, look what is going to happen around the yearly pivot point. Bitcoin moved about 1% above the yearly pivot point or slightly over that, then got a rejection. So we're looking for a dynamic move around the pivot, either rock solid stabilization or a strong rejection. And we saw that strong rejection, and lo and behold, look how quickly that moved in its favor. I guess looking as low as S2 and S3 is rather depressing at this moment, but I would rather look to see what's happening around the S1 at the moment. If we start to see weakness underneath there, then like I say, I would expect a move towards 55,000. And obviously with the mood that Atlas is in, you can't completely discard what's going to happen around the S2 as it being a target, but I kind of favor somewhere in the middle of both at the moment. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. I'm not seeing any particular reason to be overly bullish at the moment. And as always, Atlas is going to give us that kind of guiding star in terms of the path of least resistance. And it's also equally as interesting across other cryptocurrencies at the moment. And we can see something like Ethereum. It hasn't had as sharp as rise as what we've been seeing with Bitcoin, but it's certainly telling us that the path of least resistance is still to the upside. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that this week. I'll try to do a video on Vanguard 3.0 at some point. But yeah, stay safe out there, and I'll speak to you shortly.